everybody, and welcome to a new episode 21 of the Insiders on Real Estate Marketing. I'm your host, Sandy Hibbard, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Marc Miller.
21 and 21, I like that.
I do like that. I do like that. We're going to have a really good show for you today. We have a very, very special guest, Dr. Bruce Lund, who is the founder of the 90-Day Sales Manager. So here we are, believe it or not, in the middle toward the end of October, and a lot of you guys who are in sales are thinking, OMG, how am I going to meet the end of the year projections? You know, what am I going to do for 2022? I still don't have this system. I'm still not set up on social. Well, this is the show for you. So Dr. Bruce is going to be walking us through his successful habits of successful people, and he's going to be talking to us about the 90-Day Manager program. So hang with us. But before we jump into that, and before you meet Dr. Bruce, I'm going to turn it to our co-host and sponsor, Secured Title of Texas President, Mr. Marc Miller. He's got some good info and some updates.
Market's good. I anticipate a little softening in October, and we're seeing just a slight.
Is it?
Yeah. Closings are still good, but I can see a little bit of soft, and rates have just risen just slightly. So it's kind of more and more knocking away the refinance business in the platform. And not that it's not out there, it's just not out there in the volumes it was, which is going to be interesting to see how that causes an adjustment in the marketplace. But with all that, we've got some great things going on. We just signed a lease to go into Frisco.
Woo!
We're going to be on Preston Road at Lebanon. I'm really excited about that. We should be in by mid-November.
What number does that make it? How many offices?
Well, that'd be our 5th direct, and I've got 8 fee attorney offices. So we're excited about that. And then we're in an agreement in principle to acquire a title company in Houston. Fabulous. Which is what I've been targeting for over a year, and I've got it specific.
Stepping out of DFW.
Yeah, but there's such a great connectivity between Houston and Dallas in terms of transportability of business. So we'll be able to take advantage of people in Dallas doing business in Houston, and people in Houston doing business in Dallas. So we're excited about that, and I think we'll close on that by the end of the year, and that will add about another 40% to our revenue line.
That's great.
And we're having a record year, so things are good.
What do you attribute that to?
My determination to be very targeted where I expand and to remain a boutique company. I do not want to expand to get to a large platform. I want to stay very concise, and I want to be in contact with my clients, and I want to have great relationships with my employees. And so
you're doing that.
Yeah, everything that I do is kind of designed to that. I mean, this company we're buying in Houston only has 1 location, but it's a really nice size operation. Been in business 15 years, an attorney and CPA that owns it, and he's going to stay with us, and just a great platform. He does luxury home and commercial. It's just the perfect deal.
So you're set there.
Yeah, so I add a captured amount of people, but not 10 branches down there, just 1. Concentrate and decide what we want to do from there. So just kind of staying into that mode of just being boutique and high touch, high tech.
I think that's so important right now.
I agree. Yeah.
I really do. I think that we're all tired of the ginormous companies and feeling so much of a lack of real, authentic, personal touches, you know? And I know you're going to talk to that today, and it's just so important, I think, in whatever we're doing. I branded my company that for, I guess, since the inception. And I was talking to a new client or prospect, signing up a new client actually this week, and I said, you're going to be working with me. And she was like, I am? And I'm like, yeah. Exactly. I said, before I turn you over to my virtual team, I'm going to have my hands in your stuff. I'm going to be on your accounts every day. I'm going to be taking care to make sure that we develop the tone and the voice that's yours. And she was really shocked by that, because that's just not what you hear, especially with social media marketing companies right now. You go to the big boxes and you pay a little bit less money, but you never see or talk to a human. It's all rote, it's all generic stuff. And I think that makes a huge difference with people in how they do business these days. And
isn't it interesting that that's not what they expected?
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
I know, they're just expecting it.
And she was delighted
kind of
to hear that.
Yeah.
So I love that.
I think that's where you can really build relationships as well.
Well, kudos to you on the growth and
Thank you.
Opening of a Frisco. Frisco is on fire.
It is, yeah.
Isn't it?
I'm excited.
That's great.
I haven't been in that market in a while, so I'm looking forward to launching in there. So
good.
It'll be fun. So
It will.
Anyhow.
Well, episode 21, and today, like I was saying earlier in the intro, that it's time for us to really get serious about thinking about 2022 and sales and projections, and things have just been so crazy the last 18 to 22 months. It's been insane. And businesses need help. They need Dr. Bruce. So I was really, really happy that he agreed to be on the show. And if you don't know him, I will say that he is one of the youngest in his field. He is a doctor of coaching and sales, and he has coached for about a decade now,
Yep.
right? Thousands of salespeople across the world. He has developed a program that has 5 key elements that he's going to share with us today that will help your bottom line and help you get set for the new year. So with no further ado, Mr. Dr. Bruce Lund.
Well, thank
is
you
with
so
us
much for
today.
having me, Sandy and Marc. And
Great to have you.
You're talking about me being younger. I have these gray hairs that are starting to creep in, so I don't know.
That's nothing.
I don't know.
In looking and doing my research, I looked a little bit into the sales manager. Talk to me about that. I've been an entrepreneur for 21 years. I bought my company in 2000,
Yep.
and it is like this, all the time.
Yep. That roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster, and we have to build systems for our marketing. We have to build systems for our prospecting, and this is what you address
Yep.
and talk to. And I know that this is something that every entrepreneur that I ever talk to, any client of mine that comes in for help, it's the same thing. We need leads. We need leads. How do I get in front of people?
Yep.
How do I share my story? It's the same thing. And of course, in my area of expertise, I'm like, well, you got to have marketing. Let's set up marketing systems. Let's see what you've got. And invariably, I will see people who have 2 pages of typed out things that they're paying for.
Yep.
They're on this program, they're doing that, they bought this, they've got this lead thing, they've got that, but none of it's working, and it's all over the place. And getting them to focus in,
Yep.
to me, seems to be the key thing. So let's just start there. What are you seeing in the people, the prospects that
Yep.
you're working with who are coming to you as being the biggest red flag?
Well,
That's-
you hit the nail on the head of, how many times in a day or a week do you say I need a better system for that, right? We need better systems, and most entrepreneurs, they're great at talking to people, right? They're great at being the flying monkey, so to speak, jumping from idea to idea, and it's like, well, let's slow down to speed up,
Right.
and really build out these systems that will really help you go out there and scale your business. And so I've just identified there are 5 habits of highly effective salespeople. Having coached the past decade, 5 years ago, I moved from Nashville to Denver to launch my own business. I didn't know anybody in Colorado. And I had I didn't have a non-compete with my previous boss, my mentor, my friend. It was one of those, out of respect for him, I'm going to start completely brand new. And I move out to this brand new market not knowing anybody. And I grew my database organically 1,500 people in 1 year by
Fantastic.
following systems. And so that's really where, I'm a former professor. I talked about, being a former, I would say, like, educator with my old boss, where we built out a division of the company called Talent Supply. We get your younger, newer talent ready faster. And I was in charge of that. I was in charge of running that division of the company. And it just got to the point where I was like, I want to go do this on my own, right? I want to go from being the assistant coach to the head coach. And it was in the
Good
back
for
of my
you.
mind that I wanted to go do that. And then something happened in my life. My dad passed away.
Oh.
And when you have, deathbed research, we'll far more regret what we could have done in life and what we should have done, but what we did not do. And just having those conversations with my dad, that kind of just catapulted me into, if not now, then when, right? This is the best. The timing's never going to be perfect. And so that's where I just decided to get out there and move. But I bring up the 5 habits and tell that story because I'm out there living it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I say no offense to this. I'm not some white-haired coach who made my millions 20, 30 years ago. I'm out there in the trenches all day, every day as a solopreneur, just like most of our audiences that are out there.
Right.
So you know what's on, you got your feet on the ground,
That's
and you
right.
know what's coming, what's gone, what they need.
That's right.
That's cool.
That's right.
Well, the first thing on your 5 highly successful things.
Salespeople.
Salespeople,
Yep.
okay.
There you go.
Is not becoming a commodity.
Yep.
And I like that. Now, the way I say it to my clients is you've got to have branding and marketing and sell your potential, you know. But not becoming a commodity. When I read that, I thought, whoa, that's really good. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. And well, you brought it up the very beginning. Every salesperson in the world says, I want to go out there. I need to go prospect and get new leads, right? And I say before, having something to say is just as important as having somebody to say it to. You can have all the leads in the world, but if you can't articulate your value, your message, why you do what you do, it really doesn't matter. And so that's where we start in that very first conversation, right? What are your rates, or why you, and what's it going to cost, and this and that and the other. It's like, that's a commodity trap, right? Like when somebody asks you, what do you do for a living? It is literally a trap, because 99% of people will literally say what it is they do. I'm in real estate. Okay, cool. I'm in mortgage. All right, well, I already know 10 of you. Why do I really need to know you? And so that's where I start habit number one. I call it your opportunity statement, right? Every first interaction is an opportunity, not an obligation, to really differentiate. So I will coach people on saying exactly this. Before I tell you what I do, let me tell you what I believe. And let me tell you why I believe it, because of my unique past and my struggles and my experiences and my mentors. And then we'll get into the alignment of the value that we can actually bring. So there's 6 components of a world-class opportunity statement. And I'll coach people, it's just as much for you as it is for them. Because when you tell people, like, why do I open up with that story about my dad? It's you guys. There are people out there who have experienced that same thing. They now have an affinity or an attraction towards me now because of that story, right? And so that's really where we're trying to help people find, package, and sell their individual special. There's something I get from you that I can't get from anybody else. The commodity is the commodity. Let's face it, title's a commodity, coaching's a commodity. It's crazy. I'll get on Facebook and I'll see these ads for become a life coach for $15. And I'm over here.
I hate that stuff.
I'm over here. I'm like, I worked really hard to get a PhD. I've been a professor. I've helped grow a multi-million. Like, it just drives me crazy. But it's the same thing in everyone's industry. Is we need to fight to protect the integrity of our industries.
I love that. That is so true.
Yep.
Well, at the end of the day, too, people are going to do business with people they connect with.
Yep.
And so that story gives a connection to it. I went through training. I don't know if you ever heard of David Sandler, but the Sandler selling system, and one of his expressions was, don't spill your candy in the lobby.
Yeah.
Which basically people sit down and they just spray out everything they can think of about why you should do with a company, and they don't take any time to establish that connection.
That's right.
Ask the right questions, try to get an understanding of how they operate before you can try to find where you might be able to benefit them based on your what you think are your resources. So.
Yeah, and we've all heard of Carnegie, right? People do business with those they know, like, and trust. I mean, that's probably one of the #1 best-selling books of all time for salespeople. Yeah. But, like, I'm actually working on a book or a TED Talk right now, and I think there's a missing ingredient from that, and it's respect. Right? People do business with those they know, like, trust, but respect, I think, is one of the most undervalued traits. And so that's where I get into, don't suppress the past, celebrate it. That's what makes you who you are. Share some of these mentors that you've had, or these education, or the struggles, or the successes that you've had, right? Turn your mess into your message.
And you're creating those emotional touch points. And when I'm touched emotionally by something that you're going through, something that you're sharing with me, like you said earlier, it creates an affinity between the two of us. And that creates trust, it creates respect. And then knowing that myself, to know and understand my potential, to know and understand and go through the exercise of what you're talking about, to discover what my value add is. Why am I doing this? And giving my own self a passionate, emotional touch.
That's right.
Does nothing but just shoots me sky high, right? Yeah.
It should evoke emotion in you when you're sharing those kinds of things.
It
and
does.
People are attracted to energy and confidence.
It breaks through all the noise, all the white noise that's there right now. Active prospecting and building a system that targets your key prospects is #1. So what's your system for that?
Yeah, so habit number 2 gets into actually having a proactive prospecting system. So I have 10 categories of people, and I said it earlier, I grew my database organically 1,500 people. I had a selling system. Now, I would say 95% of salespeople do not have a disciplined selling system. They just wake up and they react, right? A CRM is a customer reaction management system, in my opinion. We all need it. It's important to be able to blast out content and things like that. But to me, it's not proactive. So how are you proactively going out there and following a selling system? And so that's where I have 10 categories of people. Obviously, we don't have time to walk through those 10 categories, but Number one, it starts with your help list, right? I think I can help anybody on planet Earth working in a commoditized industry, such as real estate, mortgage, title, insurance, financial services through my coaching. But I don't know until I have that first conversation. So everybody out there is on my help list, but I need to figure out, are they really in my target market? Like you were talking about earlier, right? Like being a boutique and being very, very niche, like knowing exactly who you want to work with.
Are you compatible with that prospect?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But I want to be the buyer versus the seller in that first interaction. I want to pick and choose who I want to do business with. And
So
I feel
that's
like
great.
where a lot of people get in trouble is they start chasing, they try to be all things for all people versus just knowing, like, this is my exact ideal client. This is why I know I can help you. These are all the people I've helped just like you do X, Y, Z and have these different outcomes. And now it becomes fun because as we all know in sales, especially for newer people, the biggest challenge is prospecting in general. Like a lot of salespeople hear prospecting and they immediately get sweaty palms, right? Their manager's like, go prospect more.
Oh my God, I
right?
know.
And it's like, well, you got to kind of redefine what prospecting means. Prospecting to me really means you have something of value that other people need, right? You were talking about like, I call it your free prize. There's something I get from you that I can't get from anybody else. That's your free prize. And in your heart of hearts, you have to truly believe that. Now we're just going out there and having helpless conversations every single day, 5 to 10 helpless conversations. I think I can help you. I don't know. Let's have a conversation. And if we're not a good fit, that's fine. It doesn't make you right or me wrong. It just means we're not a good fit, right? And stop attaching emotions to that. Like we want to put it like rejection. Like I got rejected or they're not answering my call. And I always make the joke. It's kind of like the How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Remember that movie at the very end? And Kate Hudson has that yellow dress on and Matthew McConaughey comes chasing her down the steps. And it's like, you want to lose a guy in 10 days, you just lost me. And what does she say? No, I didn't, Ben. I can't lose something I never had. And I think of that in sales. Like, I can't lose something I never had. I want, like, sales is a contact sport. I want to get in the game, have these conversations. Don't attach emotions to it. Just have the conversations and see what happens from there. Yeah.
And I see how these hinge on one another.
Yeah.
Step one hinges on step two.
Correct.
Without the other, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
And then the third is learning the magic of follow-up. I loved this one. I remember when I worked for a large broker, probably 2008, 2007. And this is when lead gen companies and programs were really hitting the real estate market big, and so realtors were getting all these leads from the internet. And I'll never forget my boss getting up and saying that he had gotten a letter with his association with a particular lead company saying that there were like 10,000 leads in the bucket that nobody would take. So people were saying, I want this information. I would like to have this information, but realtors weren't following up on it. I've never forgotten that. And I can elaborate on it and give you a little bit more information on it, but it was that they weren't following up. And to me, I think that is just key. So let's talk about that.
The fortune is in the follow-up.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we've all heard that 1,000 times in sales. I've actually heard similar stats where on average, a real estate agent will have 30 conversations with different people. And then when it comes down to it, at the end of the month, there's typically 3 that are actually, motivated buyers or sellers. And then 1 will actually do a deal. Like that's typically the stats that I see. Well, what happens to those other 29 people or those 27 other people, right, that are on there? And so that's where fortune's in the follow-up. And I created what I call your Fight Club follow-up. Right? When somebody fits your filter, number one, like this is my question and answer. If I can answer yes to this, do they fit my filter? Are they the motivated buyer? Am I really good at what I do? If it's a yes to all of those, then it's your duty as a sales professional to fight to earn the business, period. And so that's really where, as long as we can keep that Fight Club full, like 10, 15, 20, 50 people at all times, that's where we avoid that sales roller coaster, right? And I think that's where most people get desperate is they don't have that Fight Club follow-up.
Right.
And they put so much emotion on that one buyer, that one seller, versus keeping that pipeline full.
Well, I don't think
of other
that they
people.
know how to follow up.
Well, that gets back. Actually having a follow-up system. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, what do I do with these 29 people who have said, no, I'm not interested right now?
Yeah.
How do I keep them in the pipeline without being annoying or whatever?
So I have 2 different follow-up categories. So there's the Fight Club, which to me is typically they're 90 days to 6 months, hence my company called 90-Day Sales Manager, right? Is they're typically 90 days to 6 months away from making a buying decision. If they're not within that window, then I put them in my someday category. So that selling system I was talking about earlier, I have 10 categories. One of those categories are my someday. And it really is just to say they're not motivated yet, but they still fit my filter, somebody I want to do business with. Right? So again, I want hundreds of people in my someday category, and I'm not just dripping on them with my newsletter campaigns. It really is like once a month or once a quarter, you're authentically checking in with them. Now, are you ready to buy or sell, right? You're inviting them to events that you have going on. You know, you're educating on things that are going on in the market. You're doing things like this, right? And so that gets into like, how are you following up with those people? But, you know, I built out a 10-touch follow-up system.
That's good.
Statistics tell us it takes 7 to 15 touches to close a deal 80% of the time. That's a lot of stats, right? But that's really what it takes. So I have a 10-touch system, and again, we don't have time to go through like step by step on here, but I'm happy to send somebody a download of what those are. But it really is, you know, within 24 hours, here's touch number 1, right? Then within 48 hours, here's touch number 2. Within 5 days, here's touch number 3. But it's not just corny, salesy, cheesy follow-ups, right? Because what a lot of people do, the reason they're poor at follow-up is they don't want to be a nuisance. Right? They run out of things to say. They say things like, "Hey, I was just checking in with you. All right? Are you ready to make a buying decision?" My personal favorite one that I did, that the reason I created this follow-up is I woke up today thinking about you, which is just weird and creepy, right? I said that to a woman one time. She's like, "Excuse me?" And I'm like, "Man, I need a system. I need a better system for that," right? And so that's really where, again, like these systems all come from my own experiences of having lived it for, you know, a decade now.
Oh, yeah, the things you've gone through.
Oh, my
gosh.
gosh.
And on that point, Marc's always talking about be forensic, be forensic. In other words, ask
questions.
questions. And I think sometimes that that salespeople, and especially if they're new, and you address this too in your programs, they're timid. They're afraid, not only afraid of rejection, they're just afraid to bother somebody, or they're not really sure of that number one thing in your system, the number one step. They're not really sure of what they're bringing to the table and their value. But to ask questions and know who those leads are before you drop them into that program. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna, and they can get anxious because they can run off to their end of their script runway.
Yes.
Exactly. Oh.
Because everything's scripted on on that side, and so that's where you got to have the more forensic thought, get more personal side, because maybe that follow up is that they mentioned something with a daughter getting married,
that's
or
right.
somebody that was having a problem medically, or I mean, you could have a personal follow up. Doesn't have to have anything to do with real estate. But wow, you start establishing a rapport on a personal level on that side.
Yeah,
so
that's actually number 3 in the system. Is I call them
I
personal
need
triggers.
taking the
I know, but listen, you're seasoned. You already know this stuff. And I mean, I make a joke when I say you're seasoned. You know this stuff because a lot of what I've created, it's common sense isn't common practice.
Agreed.
And so it's just me pulling from all these different places that I've studied and I've lived through now. And everyone's like, it's not new, but it's fresh. Or excuse me, it's not that different, but it's fresh.
That's good.
And that's really what I hear a lot about my system, being a younger, newer person still in the industries. It's a fresh, like a breath of fresh air kind of a thing. But it is like I'm bringing Stephen Covey, I'm bringing Jim Rohn, I'm bringing all these different philosophers.
Well, and it's you.
And it's mine,
It's your energy. It's your spirit. It's your freshness. I've always said that marketing is marketing is marketing. It's not any different now than it was in the 1960s. It just looks different, and we have different tools. But the idea of marketing is still the same. It's telling people what we're doing and trying to gain attention and awareness of our business. So it's old school. So the fresh thing, I love that, because it's what do you bring to the table that's going to excite me? What do you bring to the table that's going to help me get up off my ass and get some work done? Because that's the problem. I can't tell you how many times in my own business with Sandy Hibbard Creative, Lyric Marketing, I've been tempted to just throw in the towel and say, I've just got to go get a job. I've got to go do something different. And I would think to myself, now, Sandy, if you'll get your butt up and you'll work as hard as you're going to have to work at that job, you'll be fine.
That's right. The grass is not always greener.
It's not. It's not always. And so,
And for our newer folks out there, it's going to take you 2-3 years to really get up and going. This in the title business, right?
Be realistic.
It's going to be at least 2 years. If you're a brand new title person out there.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Oh, I absolutely agree. And that's hard. That's a long line to not get to a level of production which you'd hope for.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And particularly when you're leaning into the market that's already there and established relationships. So how do you differentiate from that?
Yeah.
You know, I look with amazement. I'm have the good fortune this coming year to be on the chair of the strategic planning committee for Collin County Association of Realtors. And Mary Lottie was talking about a stat. I believe I'm repeating this correctly, but there's 170 new agents coming into the market monthly. You know,
That's
you start
wild.
thinking about that number, and you think about the inventory
Just in that county?
side. Yes.
Oh my
And you
goodness.
think about the
It's
inventory,
crazy.
and you think about the existing
Yeah.
licensed people, which is probably somewhere around 10,000 in Collin County. And you just think, I just think to myself, how are they ever going to work toward penetration?
You have to see it as a career, not
Yeah.
as a hobby.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I
Exactly.
think that's the biggest challenge that I see, especially newer people. It's like, are you willing to do whatever it takes to go out there
Right.
and be successful? It's
Right.
not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you'll be successful. If you are all in, it's not the hokey pokey. We can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Right, right.
Yep.
And discipline's got to be a part of
That's
that
right.
as well. And you know, the age-old challenge to any of this is we were raised not to talk to strangers. And here we go. Let's go prospect.
Oh, geez.
Mark, you and I need to hang out and talk more, because that's actually, when I was a professor, I was going to write a book called The Commodity Factory, right? And the Commodity Factory is exactly that. Be seen but don't be heard, right? Go where the herd goes. Never talk to strangers. Could you
Right.
imagine if we did that in sales?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It would never work.
No, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, and so
No.
the schooling system, and listen, I'm not dogging on the schooling system. I don't even call it education anymore. It's schooling. They're just trying to push you through to the end. And I can say this as a former professor, right? And it doesn't set you up for entrepreneurship at all.
No.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. There's a whole different thing required to have that entrepreneur spirit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
But
right.
before that, getting the referral.
Getting the
You got to
referral.
do something great to get that referral,
Yep.
right? I mean, you've got to create a great experience
That's right.
for your customer, and that's one of the 5 successful steps. Talk about
Yes. So the first 3, just to reiterate, are all about your sales, right?
Yeah.
Habit number 1 is having something to say, avoid the commodity trap.
Yep.
Habit number 2 is working that proactive prospecting system. Habit number 3 is having that disciplined follow-up system. And then we get into, okay, congratulations, right? You worked really, really hard to earn that business. Now the fun starts. Now the magic starts, which is working with that client. What is that unique customer experience? And I learned long ago from my former coach, referability is when great people tell other great people how great you are, right? There are 3 rewards that we should get from every one transformational experience with a client. We should get a referral, we should get a review, and we should get retention of the business. Again, this is not
good.
earth-shattering.
That's good.
They all start with RE, right?
Yeah.
The 3 rewards, RE, are referrals, reviews, repeat business. And at the end of the day, again, all our businesses are universal in that way. But I truly believe that you have to be transformational in today's world. You can't be transactional within that process. A transaction simply means you're discarded once the service is over.
Yeah.
And we've all heard the stats.
And we've all been through that,
Correct.
haven't we?
Yep. And the stats in real estate, which drives me crazy, is the number 1 reason why people don't refer the real estate agent is they don't remember their name.
Can you imagine?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so we're all talking about on the front end, what do we say? We want to be there every step of the way. This is the biggest investment you're ever going to make. And then the number 1 reason why they don't refer them, oh shoot, they haven't followed up with me, and I can't
That's
even
wild.
remember. It is wild.
That is wild. And I've been there. I mean, I bought and sold property and never saw the person again.
Yep.
It's something that is real out
Yeah.
there. And it's not like you have to be best friends with your clients, but you have to have relationship.
Yep.
The people that you have relationships with are the people who are loyal to you, who come back to your business, they give you referrals. They're good. It's a win-win, and you have to have that mindset. So I think creating an opportunity to focus on that
Yep.
is really big.
Well, you said the mindset part. To me, that's key. It's every one deal could or should be worth 5.7 additional deals throughout the lifetime. So that's the mindset that I'm in with every person that signs up for my program. It's not just the one deal for the 90 days when they go through my program. It's the 5 additional deals that we can get from that if I truly deliver on what I said I'm going to deliver on the front end. And so I think that's 99% of this is mindset. Let's be honest. Like, that's why I love the Fight Club mindset so much, right? It's like I'm fighting to earn the business and the helpless mindset and the opportunity statement, but also with a unique customer experience. It's a mindset. Every one deal could and should be worth 5.7 additional deals if we do this right.
Yeah, that's awesome. The last thing in your program, and I love this, is the entrepreneurial spirit that attracts new interest to your product and service. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the entrepreneurial spirit, I think, is a hard one again, because like we've heard self-promotion's evil. Self-promotion is not evil. It's necessary in today's
Totally
saturated
necessary.
world. You need to go out there and get more attention. Money follows attention and activity. Did you know that in real estate, people use the first person they talk to 67% of the time? That is marketing 101. So once I understand that stat, it is my job, my duty to go out there and be the first person that other people think about.
Say that again.
People use the first person they talk to 67% of the time. So
Wow.
therefore, when you understand that stat,
You got to be first.
you got to be the first person they think about. Just like if you're in real estate, right? You want to own the real estate
Yeah.
in the brains of other people.
Yeah.
Right? And the reality is, consumers only have time for one or two people.
Yeah.
If I ask you right now, who's your favorite plumber? One or two people coming to mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Your favorite lender, your favorite title person, your favorite whomever. We only have room for one or two people.
We don't have, our attention is finite.
Yeah.
And so we have to kind of, we're vying for that attention.
Yep.
And so the more that you're out there, the more that you're tooting your own horn, you're in front of people, then you have a chance to capture that
That's right.
attention. But we only have a finite amount of attention. We can't be
Yeah.
putting it all over everywhere.
Yeah.
Plus,
And
we want to make
go
a
ahead.
decision and move on,
Yeah.
right? We don't
Yeah.
want to go through 5 discussions.
That's right.
So
That's
I think you
great.
tag on that first one, and you got the rapport on that first one.
That's
You're
right.
like, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
make it
because
happen.
that's that alignment call too. Because listen, it's going to be rocky. I mean, when you're listing a house, or you're trying to get somebody into a house, this is going to be a journey. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be a bumpy. So on the very front, you have to have that alignment call right within that process, because it's not a matter of if something's going to go wrong. It's a matter of when.
Right.
And I don't want you to treat me like a commodity when it does.
Right.
Right. And just think about this: when you book something for cheap online, and then you're trying to talk to somebody overseas on customer service because something went happen, like, you don't treat them like a human being. Most people don't anyways, right? And so that's where you got to have that alignment call on the very front end, which gets into the marketing side as well, which is having that message. And I'll just say this has become a sticky point for me. I hope you guys bear with me while I vent here a little bit.
Okay.
But I see so many people now, and again, I say self-promotion isn't evil, it's necessary, but I don't want you going out there and pretending like you're a model, or you're like, this influencer stuff is driving me crazy. And
Thank you.
I bring that up because to me there's a big difference between a person of interest and a person of influence. A person of interest says, hey, look at me, it's self-serving, it's all about my ego. I post these pictures because I crave your attention. A person of influence is somebody that gets on shows like these and they educate their audience and their database of people.
Exactly.
So they consistently show up and educate
Exactly.
and add the value. It's not, hey, look at me for that self-righteous thing. So I don't want to go on a rant when it comes to
I
that,
agree with you.
but it's
I do too.
completely important. And
Yeah.
honestly, the people, like a lot of people who are afraid to do social media and afraid to go out there and get attentions are the best ones. So that's where I'm trying to empower them. Is don't worry about how you look and you sound on camera. Just get on there and educate, because you are truly an educator. And I think about that in my own, when I do my own Instagram stories, or my own, because I have a podcast called the Solopreneur Movement. And when I get on there, I'm not trying to make everybody happy. I'm just thinking that in my database of people, right, my target market of people, I feel like I'm spitting right now. In my target market of people, I'm very authentic, guys. There's 20% of people who need to hear my message in that very moment, and that's who I focus on, right?
That's a
When I
good
go
point.
speak on the stage
Yeah.
in front of thousands of people,
Yeah.
like the first time I spoke at the LA Convention Center, this was like when I first got started, I was so nervous and scared. Like, I didn't sleep at all, right? You get dry mouth. And I remember I went on a walk that morning, and I was like, you know what? There's one person in this audience of thousands who need to hear what I have to say right now. Focus on that one person. If you try to make everybody happy, you're guaranteed to be unhappy yourself.
No, I think
and
that's
what I
beautiful.
think about when it comes to marketing is there's 20% of people out there right now who need to hear that message. They're looking for the information, right? We live in the information age. They're going to go find it from somewhere. Shame on you if you've built this database of awesome people who know you, like you, trust you, respect you, and now they go somewhere else because you're not educating them.
Right. Because you're not staying in front of them. It's
Yeah.
just plain and simple.
That's right.
They forgot you.
That's right.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. This has been so good, but we're running out of time. So I want us to focus now on our 3 takeaways. And Bruce, what we like to do is take the show and end with the 3 things that you would like to leave with the audience, because we've talked about a lot of things. So I'll let Marc go first so that you can get an idea of how we do this.
Perfect.
Man, that's just so much great content.
It is.
Both kind of
I'm
things.
jazzed. I'm
But some of the
jazzed.
things
You're
that jump out with
awesome,
me,
Bruce.
I mean, coaching is kind of an overused terminology in our industry, but there is tremendous value, and I kind of put that with a slash, and that's mentoring. And if you have the opportunity to have somebody that can coach and mentor, I just think that has such great value, because you get that experience. I still have a mentor. Billy Vaughn's my mentor. He's 89 years old, still in the industry, and we talk every day, and I rely on him. So I do believe in coaching, because it also gives you a perspective of where you are. Coaching is a challenge in a way, because it's challenging your productivity and your time that you're spending. I don't think enough companies are spending time to develop the talent that they have, and that's what we're really concentrating on, is training up people, because we've got to create a next generation of whatever that is, whether it's title or a real estate team or the lending team or whatever it is, sales period for that matter. So that my takeaway is I think developing the talent you have and concentrating on that is really important. And then, I just, on my message today to my company is training. Keep learning. And if you're not pushing and learning, then you're not going to have the growth opportunities that you're hoping for. So whether you need to embrace more in sales side and go through more sales training, whatever it is, keep stretching yourself and keep learning, because there's a lot of great material out there and a lot of great people just like you. So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So those are my three thoughts.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Those are great.
That's coming from a living legend, so I appreciate
I know, right?
that. Yeah. Well, I'll just go off of your list, because I can speak to all three of these. So when it comes to coaching, I have one very basic belief: everybody needs a coach in life.
Yes.
In areas that are important, right? So whatever.
A coach and a therapist is what I've always said.
And many times they're just one and the same, unfortunately. But yeah, I do truly believe everybody needs a coach in life, right? Like, we can't see the picture when we're inside the frame. So a lot of times we need an outsider that will hold us accountable, and that would be the second takeaway: is accountability isn't a bad thing. Like, I feel like accountability gets a bad rap. Everybody competes harder when there's a scoreboard. When left to our own devices, we're not afraid to let ourselves down, but we don't want to let other people down. And so I think that's that second part, is we all need some kind of level of accountability within the process, right? Just like for me, I have this little Apple Watch. I have a trainer in Denver. I have to send him my daily reports since he can't physically be in the gym with me, right? So that's the scoreboard. That's my accountability piece. We all need some kind of level of accountability. I'll just go to talent development right here then. So, and I agree, like, I have a program called Turn Managers into Coaches. And I believe we're in a coaches movement right now, right? You either want to coach or you don't want to coach. And we all need some coach in our lives. And I truly believe that a great coach pulls the potential out in other people, right? They affirm and validate the worth and potential of somebody else in such a clear way that they can now go out there and they're inspired to go do that. And so, whatever position that you're currently in, whatever season that you're in your life, like, paying it back, right? Being a mentor to other people.
That's good.
Yep.
That's good. All right, my three, and I'm going to take it.
Did I skip you? I'm sorry. I went
right.
Okay.
She always wraps up.
Okay, good.
She wraps up.
From marketing's perspective, nobody is going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. So on the personal marketing side, which is my number one thing to take away from today, is that you've got to have personal marketing. Okay? It's not about marketing the company you work for. It's not about marketing the program, but it's about sharing the authentic side of you. And I just think
You've always believed that, Sandy.
I have. Yeah. I've always taught that. It's about personalizing your marketing and being real and being authentic and being approachable. Because if you don't believe it, who else is going to believe it, right?
Yep.
Second thing is consistency. We all get tired doing the same old stuff. I mean, everybody gets tired. So that's why, to both of your point, you need a coach, because a coach will hold you accountable. But where your marketing is concerned, don't think that people are getting bored with it. Don't think that it's too much. Don't think that you're oversaturating anything, because you're not. Promise you, you're not, unless you're posting 50 times a day. But I have clients that actually say, should I post every day or maybe just once a month? And I'm like, no, they will forget you. So consistency in whatever you choose. That list I talked about earlier where you had a whole bunch of things that you've bought and paid for, but you're not using any of them. Just choose one thing. Be consistent with it. So consistency in all of this, whether you're on one of Bruce's programs and working it consistently, is the key. That's the key. Third thing, initiative. You cannot be afraid to work. You cannot be afraid to get up and make it happen. Again, like my example, there have been times in my business roller coaster ride of being an entrepreneur, I've wanted to give it up because it got too hard, or the money wasn't there, and it was just too challenging. But when I rolled my sleeves up and went to work, and I wasn't afraid to put in the same grit to that I'd have to if I was punching the clock somewhere, I saw things turn around. So personal marketing, consistency, and initiative mixed with these programs and the authentic, boutique, caring individual, I think that's what makes it win.
Sandy, can I know we're wrapping up.
Yes.
I don't know how much time we have, but
we're out.
You touched on the third part of that, and it's like that whole, there's no get rich quick scheme, right? There's no wealth without work strategies that work. So stop even going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Just roll up your sleeves and get to work.
Totally.
There is great power in taking action. I would much rather get in the game, take action, and make mistakes than sit on the sidelines and try to find some kind of get rich quick thing.
Because you always have an excuse on the sidelines.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
As my old friend Jim Fight says, activities breed results. If you're a salesperson, activities breed results. So that's the end of the show, guys. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to visit theinsiderspodcast.com, and I will have a handy PDF with Dr. Bruce's information and the 5 categories that's in his 90-day sales manager. And he might even share some other stuff with us that I'll be able to post a link there for you. I know there's going to be a video that I'll post up there for you. So go and grab that information, watch the show, look at our other things, and we've got new things coming next month, and we will have as much fun then as we are now.
Yeah.
So thanks for stopping by. Ciao, everybody.
Have a great week.